Very good afternoon, friends. On behalf of CMS Vatavaran, I welcome you all. As you know that we are doing a series of program that is celebrating biodiversity, and in the series we are having screening of wonderful award-winning documentary films on environment and biodiversity every day. And at the 5 p.m. every day, we talk to some of the most prominent filmmakers, green filmmakers of our time. So today, I'm really very happy to have two of my very good friends, Doel and Gautam Pandey. So we will be talking to him about their filmmaking process, their thought process, everything. So a very warm welcome, Doel and Gautam,
Let me peep into the frame here.
and
Thank
and
you.
hap- and happy birthday, Doel.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So before a little formal thing, a little introduction before we start talking. So as friends, you may be knowing that Doel Trivedy wears many hats at Riverbank Studios. She is a writer, director, producer, and believes that stories can change perspectives. Doel studies films in Canada and started her career working with Discovery Channel. She has also produced and directed several episodes of the TV series Earth Matters, which is India's longest running environmental series on national TV. And Gautam Pandey is one of India's accomplished young wildlife filmmaker. Gautam studied film in Canada and has won several national and international awards for his film. Born into a family of nature enthusiasts, Gautam's passion for filmmaking
ये
started
तो
as
Wikipedia से पढ़ रहे हो सभी से. This is
वो
not allowed.
करना
You
have
can't read on
I
Wikipedia.
have to introduce you to the people. So yeah, that was the introduction. So
Hmm.
how both are you? How Goa is treating you?
Good, good. We've just come to Delhi actually,
Acha, you are
and
in Delhi right now.
yeah, yeah. So we've all been through. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone
Mhm,
has been through all kinds of experiences. I think this last few months. So no
mhm,
one has been spared, including us, of course.
mhm.
But yeah,
So
I mean, the thing is to kind of keep chugging along and
mhm.
like do what you want to do, need to do.
Deol and Gautam, you both have studied from a same college in Canada, same film school, and that's how you met each other.
No, we actually strategized. We first met
Very
and
Okay.
smart.
we strategized a plan of how can we best become our best selves, and we decided to go study together in Canada. Yeah, that was many years ago.
So we actually worked together at the
Mhm.
studio. We came to intern at the studio,
Okay. Do you
and
mean
I
you're
came to
joking or
work I came to work and learn under Mike Sir
okay?
and intern with him and train under him. And
Mhm.
I actually honestly didn't know Gautam was Mike's
she
son.
was unprepared, Sabyasachi.
So yeah, I actually met him when I came to train under Mike Sir.
So, about Gautam, we know that he is son of a legendary Mike Pandey. But Deol, what's your background and how you decided to come into filmmaking and especially wildlife and natural film history films? And that is generally it's a male-centric field. So, why and how?
Well, the thing is, it wasn't ever a clear decision.
Mhm,
As a young person, I wanted to make a difference and, do uh, tell stories about the environment. I grew
mhm,
up always wanting to tell stories about the environment. And
mhm,
I think so. It wasn't a clear decision that I want to become a filmmaker. So I wanted to learn and find ways of telling stories about the environment. And
okay.
then I came to train under Mike Sir, of course, and it. I took to it, and slowly, slowly, and I'm still learning. And so I think that's how I ended up doing it. And at that time, there was no such awareness of there was no ambition of becoming a wildlife filmmaker or awareness of that I'm a woman and I'm it's going to be difficult. I think it was just going organically and just wanting to learn and tell and do something, make a difference really. And so that's how it kind of started growing. And of course, once you meet Mike and you are so
Yeah.
inspired,
Yes.
and he can change the way you look at
Yes.
the
No
world.
doubt. No doubt.
Yes, so there was
No
no
doubt.
turning back for me. I was
Okay.
hooked.
In
So,
spite of being a little bit distracted by me, but still she found her way.
I
so
was doubly
you,
hooked.
so you both met in Riverbank Studio only,
Correct. I can see all the
and
pieces falling into your head now.
yes, and then you decided, okay, now we know each other, so we should go for further studies, and then you
Yeah.
decided to go to Canada for to that school.
Yeah.
Why that school? If because there are there are film schools in Europe and in US and in Canada also. So why you particularly chose that? So that it can give an idea about to these new filmmakers who wanted to learn the wildlife and natural history filmmaking.
Mm. Well, one thing was because both of us had worked, I think I had worked for 8 years already, and Doel had worked for maybe six by that time. So the specific course that was at Sheridan University, it's still there, was for advanced film and television. So it was meant only for working professionals. And at that time, high definition was still coming in back then. So it was all about technology and how to handle, the change from shooting on film and tape and stuff like that to cards and digital and the post production. And those days it used to be a big deal. How will you light for HD, because HD is like amazing, you see everything, but now you don't, our phones shoot in 4K. So
Mhm.
how quickly things have changed is quite amazing. Also, it was affordable. I mean, we
Yeah,
took a loan for it.
yeah, we had to. So there were many things at play. I mean,
Mhm.
like Gautam said, the course was very technology.
Technologically,
No, no,
Yeah.
technology
technological technologist.
technology driven,
Yeah.
and it was in our budget because we were going to pay
Mhm.
for it ourselves. It was meant for professionals
Mhm.
who had already had, so it wasn't basic theory, it was a lot of practical work, and all the professors were from the industry who were working on shows or series or TV productions that were on air currently. So they had a lot of industry experience to share. So,
Yeah,
we could actually go on sets, we could actually get
yeah.
hands-on experience on cameras they were using, look at their post-production mm, facilities. And,
Mhm.
so it was very exciting for us to see that because we didn't have that available here for us in India at that
Mhm.
time.
Also, it is a mix of non-fiction,
Mhm.
documentary, and fiction. The
Mhm.
professors. So, say our cinematography class was taught by Ron Stannett, who actually filmed some of the X Files episodes. You remember X Files?
Yes, X Files. I love that
Yeah,
series.
so he had filmed the X Files episodes, and our direction teacher had also, she was doing mostly fiction back then, but
Mhm.
then we got to work with another documentary filmmaker from Canada called Don Shippey, I think his name was. He was, so I mean, it was a good mix to kind of change that one perspective we had had so far.
So, what is the process of getting enrolled to the university to that class? Is there any process, or you just write to them and get admission, or is any test? How?
Sheridan actually has given birth to a lot of film professionals. So at that point, there was a simple interview they would do, and if you could afford to study there, you could go.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure currently what the status is. They also have a great animation department as well.
It's a
Mhm.
Sarkari school.
Is it?
Certain is a Sarkari school basically. That's why they've controlled how much, like NYU and all those. It's like,
Mhm.
or used to be like 20 lakhs or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
Maybe more now, right?
Yeah.
But that's because it's private. So
yeah.
Sheridan, as far as I understand, is
Mhm.
public.
Yeah, so it's quite a easy process for filmmakers. They have and the people over there in the admin are very helpful. with choosing what would be right or not right for anyone wanting to study there. So, and they do help with, and they do inspire, help with industry placements after you've done. It's a very short course actually. It's only a year long.
Uh-huh.
Um, so once you're done with that, they encourage a year in the industry as well, and they help you with that. So that gave us some extra experience as well. I mean, because of Sheridan, I landed up in Discovery,
Okay.
and got. I worked on a very cool show called Daily Planet, which is like their
Mhm.
science Discovery's longest running science show,
Mhm.
and they've been running it since the 80s. So I worked with very highly professional people who had been involved in this for many years. So I got to learn from the best on the job. So that was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Good fun.
uh, Gautam, you said that you before going to Canada, you were working for a span of 8 years. After working 8 years, then you decided to go to Canada for this course. So, how, as I was, talking to you, how does it feel to work, you know, with such a stalwart, with the Mike Pandey, the best in India, or even in world. He is one of the most prominent name. So, and people, when you work with such a, if you are son of such a big filmmaker, people have certain expectation when you start working. So, was it easy? Was it okay? Was it frustrating? Was there any pressure to prove yourself? Just want to understand that.
Hmm. Uh, so I've been asked this a few times, but I had never thought about it till someone asked me. And then when I started thinking about it, I didn't feel any pressure because I never had any, and I never felt like I had to be a filmmaker. In fact, I wasn't before. I
Mhm.
spent quite a few years trying to do music, and I was in a band, and I thought that I would, try to get into the music industry and things like that. But back then, it wasn't the way it is today, where there is a space for a lot of original, uh, music that people can create over there. There's an audience for it.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, I still am involved with music, and I still, you know, I have my group of friends that I play music with, or we jam and things like that. Uh, but somewhere, I think I made a decision, and I saw that I will not be able to create the way I want to create with in regards to music.
Mhm.
And then I always did animation and visual effects, so I did that for a few years, and I really enjoyed that, and I loved it, and I still do. A couple of episodes. So we're doing Earth Matters right now, and we did a series for the Northeast. So I jumped onto that and did a few animations uh,
Mhm.
for that, and then I did a couple of short animation films, environmental again. I did that for a while, but not like proper filmmaking.
Mhm.
Because somewhere I must have had it in my head, and like I said, I didn't think about it till someone asked me that maybe I was just trying not to do what dad is doing, but by its own and naturally, organically, I came into the fold,
Mhm.
uh, and I enjoyed it, and I did love it, and I saw a lot of impact being created by the kind of work that was going on.
Mhm.
And then it's hard not to be inspired by all these individuals that are around you, so
Mhm.
committed, and like all the people that are working with him, the team that he had around him back then. And then Doel came, and I was like, okay, the only way I can sort of now. No, I'm kidding about that. But I'd already worked. By that point, I was completely yes. I want to be a filmmaker with a focus on conservation.
Okay. So, how does it feel like working with Mike sir? Like, is he very strict? Is he very easy going? ठीक है, गलती हो गई, फिर से कर लेते हैं, या ये क्यों कर लिया, ऐसे नहीं होना था. Some filmmakers are very easygoing. Some filmmakers are very, eccentric, or very angry when they are shooting. So how is it working with, how about working with Mike sir? कैसा है? How he?
It's for me. I
Both.
have never seen
Both.
Mike angry. I think maybe
Okay.
once in 20 years. He's very calm, very relaxed, but he's a taskmaster in his own quiet way. Uh,
Yes.
he's a perfectionist. He's
Yes.
never happy with the first draft, second draft, third draft, fourth draft. He he has and I really respect that because it's easy to it's easy to do something and feel really good about it and feel like you're done. But as all artists, creative people, and would know that it just takes uh,
Yeah.
working on it continuously. So he inspires a lot of deep diving, relearning, redoing. Uh, so yeah, it's great. It's the learning never stops. He's very calm about it, but he forces you to go beyond the call of what is the because he's taught me not to go for the minimum. Like basically, काम हो गया ठीक है, and then what else can you add to it? And then once you've added that, what else can you do to it?
Hmm.
And it is frustrating as well because you have to decide when it's done, but for him I think it's never done. You can always
There's no off button.
there's no off button, and uh, it's very inspiring to have that energy around you for me because you always feel like you can keep digging more, you can find more, and uh, yeah.
You forgot one thing.
What?
He makes a great kali dal.
Excellent. And a great butter chicken, but we don't
Oh,
eat that much. But yeah, he's an excellent mentor, which many of the people who've gone through Riverbanks will, I think, agree with me entirely on.
Yeah, and I think what I've tried to learn from him, and tried is the key word here, is to be as forgiving when people make mistakes,
mhm.
because it's going to happen at some point, right?
Okay.
And how people, I mean, building a team and building that community around you, and of course, there will be things that go wrong, but how you handle it is when you truly shine.
Okay. Uh, so now coming back to the film thing. So you both had completed. So when you made your first independent, like as a director, producer, kind of a documentary, before was it before going to Canada, or was it after coming from, and then you decided now we will make a full-fledged documentary as a producer director?
It was after we got the Vatavaran awards for Timeless Traveler, actually.
Uh, okay.
That's true, huh? Yeah, I was going to say I don't have a clear. I think I'll have to think about that because I guess it's not very important to me, but quite late in the career because I think yeah, Timeless Traveler might have been the horseshoe crab film that we did, and
Mhm.
I helped on the script and putting the film together. I helped Gautam and Mike do that, and I think after that got it got you Mike used it. He took it for lobbying again
Mhm.
with the scientists who were working on horseshoe crabs,
Mhm.
and I really saw that whole process of making a conservation film and
Mhm.
using it for something after it's been made.
Okay.
And so that was quite interesting, and I saw that process. And I think after that, maybe some ambition of making a film with my own. But yeah, I think the only one I can clearly say I've directed and produced with Gautam is Sultan and Gamu, which is also showing today on Vatavaran.
Yes. So, so before you thought of like now we will make film, and so before going to the floor, have you like how you decided, because you two people with different kind of mindset and different kind of skill set. So, have you clearly divided your work? Like you will do this, and Gautam will do this, and then you started. Like, what was the process? So, starting se pehle, what was the thing which the process you went through?
I just want to say, add to the last one. Like, I feel like it's never been. I mean, I guess we don't start making a film with the idea of producing it or directing it. That's why my answer was a bit vague, because it always begins in some conversation in the drawing room or something we read, and there's a story you hear about, and you live with it for many years maybe, and then something comes up and you join the
Uh-huh.
dots, and then you
Mhm.
start writing this and putting this film together. So I think there's no clear, like, it's not like acha we will produce and direct this film. It kind of
Mhm.
organically blooms over many years, especially this kind of filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, it is for like that for a lot of filmmakers, I
Yeah,
think,
Mhm.
and you always have multiple things going on at the same time.
yeah,
Mhm.
Some things are half done, some things are not done, some things just die while pitching. While telling someone about it, it's like actually it's not that great an idea. It sounded pretty good in the bathroom, but that's just the process, I think, and there are so many things which we sort of began doing and they're just kind of lying there half done because uh, so many reasons. Run out of funding, run out of steam, or you
Mhm.
realize the idea needs it's the wrong timing, or it needs more to it. Because nothing as bad as ruining a good idea. I think it
Mhm.
needs to be done. It needs to be done right. If you're going to do it, then you need to be all in and kind of do it instead of just kind of just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Mhm.
Just to say, oh, I did it, or I was the first to do it, or no one else has done this. Which are reasons I see out there. But
yeah. So I think for us, like I think a lot of filmmakers, it starts with the subject of wanting to tell something, and then it kind of grows, and then you decide how you want to tell it. Do you want to direct it? Do you want to write it? It comes organically, and between us also, it's become like that. We become better at working
Mhm.
together, and we don't fight as much, or
sort of. Yeah, it's not easy. I think because all three of us direct,
mm,
and
Mhm.
then with three directors, always like you said, different opinions, different perspective, or whatever, and then yeah,
but most times we are working on different projects. So like
Mhm.
will be we usually have come to a balance where we all of us are working on different projects and on each other's projects,
Mhm.
but organically, one person is leading
yeah.
one and the other person is doing something. We're working on a couple of projects right now, and
Mhm.
there is an understanding between us of who is leading one project and who's leading the other.
Yeah.
So, what happens first? It was Gamo or the Sultan? Which was the first film you done together?
Sultan.
Yeah.
Sultan. So, so tell me, like, what is your filmmaking process? How you start and how you do everything? What's Deol and Gautam's process of making a film, from thought, starting thinking of a subject till final, final product? How you go?
It's evolved, it's changed, and we have to change with who we are pitching it to,
Mhm.
basically.
Or if we
So
are making it for ourselves to
yeah,
if yeah.
it's a different process if we're making it for ourselves.
Okay.
Like if we take the example of Sultan, since we were talking
Mhm.
about that, we were actually filming for another project, and that got done. And while filming for that, we started following Sultan's story, and you know, started developing that idea. And it was kind of, the footage was with us, and we was filming it. We kept filming without a story in mind, really, at that time. And then Sultan was the most exciting cub in the forest at that time. So, and he was most seen. So we ended up filming him a lot, and we weren't really filming with a project in mind or anything. And we, in fact, forgot about it for a year. And when we met a friend at Discovery, and he wanted to do something. And we said, "Oh, we have a ton of footage," and we actually created. Uh, and Sultan by then had gone missing, actually. And our
Okay.
friends in Ranthambore told us he's gone missing, and we had that footage. So it was a lot of brainstorming, a lot of discussing with each other of that there is actually a story there and building it together. And
Mhm.
our daughter has walked in. But
Okay.
Gautam, I'm going to let you take over that process when I.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a luxury to film without knowing why you're filming. But we
Okay.
just happened to be in that situation and we had this footage. But say, I've been trying to develop this idea of bears in India. It's been about 5, 6 years now. So
Mhm.
whenever I do get a chance, if we can save a bit from some other project, I'll make a little mini budget and say, okay, I'll just go alone, or let Doel and I go for 10 days to whatever location and try and film something that's happening over there. And
Mhm.
you guys keep collecting it. The story keeps evolving as it goes, and
Mhm.
then after a couple of rounds, you have something to show and something to work with and edit. So we make like a little sizzle, it's called, of what the film would look like and what it would kind of feel like in a way.
Mhm.
And then you can take that to a broadcaster. And it's quite an evolved, it's not a montage, it's not a collection of shots, but it's like a mini version of your film almost.
Okay.
And as it's evolved now with broadcasters, it's become even more so. So now sizzles used to be like 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Now they could be
Mhm.
10 minutes long, 15 minutes long, depending on the broadcaster. And
So
even,
Gautam, I'm just disturbing.
yeah,
Uh, I'm a new filmmaker. I just came out from a film school, and now I want to make one my first project, and I don't have money. So what should I do? Like, what should I do if I had a story with me? I'm talking about environment and conservation thing. So how do what preparations do I need, and how do I pitch, and where to pitch, and if I want to pitch, what should be the things which I should take care of first, and that look and then I should go to a funder or organization.
good question, great question. So I think first thing is if you are feeling this little thing inside you, which is like, I want to make a film.
Hmm.
So dive a little deeper within yourself and ask yourself, why do you actually want to make a film? What is driving you? What do you wish to achieve from making a film?
Hmm.
Is it just a creative outlet? Are you trying to create impact or change somewhere? So we know now just making a film won't create a change. It might trigger it. But even for that trigger to work as a trigger, it needs a lot of action behind it. So knowing what kind of films you want to make, I think is a good place to start and spend some time with that instead of being in a hurry of now I want to make films.
Hmm.
Uh, and from there, I think you can sort of start looking into now I know what kind of film I want to make, what kind of audience do I want to reach, and then it is easier then to figure out where the funding will come from then after that,
Okay.
because there are platforms like DocEdge, and tomorrow is the closing, I believe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Doel knows more about that one.
Yeah, no, there are many platforms. Dockage is a very good one for documentary filmmakers. There are grants that are available. Vatavaran, you yourself have a
Yeah.
couple of grants that you do every year for young
Yes.
filmmakers. Those
Yes.
are
PSBT.
great. PSBT. There are a
Hmm.
couple of. There are a few in India. I mean, we can list it out. We can help you that filmmakers can reach us and we can help them. But
Hmm.
Gautam said that that's key really why you want to make a film, and that really decides what you need to help get that money. But a basic industry standard is to have a one pager, which is like a concept note, which is like your proof of concept. You write down what you want this film to be, what is your idea, what is the theme, uh, what is the story, and
Hmm.
quickly in a page, if you had to tell someone, it should be there, like a theme, a synopsis, and a detailed understanding of what the subject is, and then like a sizzle, if most grants and commissioners and people who would fund your film would like to see what you have. So if you're a new filmmaker and you have a subject and you have a story, spend a couple of days or whatever your subject is, film with them, put together a sizzle or a proof of concept as it's called. Like Gautam was saying, it can be 3 minutes, it can be 10 minutes. It gives the grant, whoever is going to help you with funding, understand how you see the film, what the film is about. And I think those two things are beginning points for any new filmmaker: a concept note, a one-pager, and a sizzle.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so coming back to Sultan. So then you were talking about how you will start making Sultan, and then how this snow leopard demo happened. Like it was all again for some agency, or it was it was your film. Let us make a film, and then we will decide whether we have to sell it or whom to sell it. How like what was about that?
That was again something we were developing. So like the bears, like I said, whenever
Yeah.
we would get a little extra saving or pocket money or whatever, so we would go and do these little stints, go for 10 days, 1 week, nothing too long, because there's no budget for that. And then to try and begin camera trapping, trying to understand the land and the habitat a bit. So you kind of it's like a recce, but you're preparing for it when it does happen. And it doesn't always happen, of course. So Yamo, we had already been figuring out the lay of the land, camera trap. We had a couple of sequences. We knew that there were wolves there. We knew that what kind of habitat, what to expect. So we did that for about 2 years, on off, and then this started thing happening. So when we started talking about looking for Sultan, so then we said, what about snow leopards?
And unlike Sultan, I think with the Gyamo, there was a clear, like he's saying, following, because for like we had a more clear vision of what we were filming, right? Because we wanted to do camera trapping with snow leopards, and we wanted to experiment and see if we would be successful, how difficult it is. So that was on. We were actually building camera traps, seeing what would work. So we had a clearer vision of that story, and we were working with local friends over there who were helping us understand what the habitat was. So a lot of things were coming out over those 2 years, like the landfill that you see in the film. Is a very dear friend of ours, Kanzin, who's also a filmmaker, who took us to that landfill and said, see, this is here, and no one really talks about it. So with Gyamo, I think there was a clearer vision of a story we wanted to tell. And so when Sultan happened, we could say, oh, we have this as well, and this is a story that needs to be told. So we were able to actually sell that idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Gautam, as you and Deoli, as you know that we are doing a series of this session, live session, in from 22nd and will go up till 8. So we are talking to various filmmakers, and they all have their all views. So I want to ask both of you, like, what makes a film, a documentary film, good film, or a world standard film? What is this world standard? I want to understand, uh, because people may say, like, we don't have that kind of filmmakers with us. Although I don't agree with him, uh, but I want to understand what makes a world standard documentary. What do you mean by world standard documentary? Is it very heavy and husky voice over, or a very 4K camera, or a very expensive shooting style? What, or you know music by A.R. Rahman? What makes a documentary a world standard documentary?
Yeah, I guess it's like saying what makes a jacket and not like a tuxedo top. So, the collars need to be a certain way. It needs to have no pockets or a pocket or whatever it might be. So there are certain standards that have been put for broadcast. So, and I'm not sure where it came, where they started suddenly subcategorizing this and said,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's a blue chip," or or that's a that's a lower budget film. Of course,
Mhm.
there are visual differences in large budget and lower budget films, which occur because of things like, say, a large budget film would have an original score for music
Mhm.
to start with, will have multiple camera crews on it. So then you just have much more footage to work with, right?
Mhm.
So even a simple sequence of, uh, a tiger walking down this path might
Mhm.
have two different angles on it, or you'll have like a shot over, so you have like a gimbal with it. Now that's a large budget film. That's become like the look for these bigger budget blue chip films,
Mhm.
which everyone wants to sort of aspire to, because that's become like the top where it looks like it's like a fiction Hollywood budget standard, that kind of a
Mhm.
film
Mhm.
to the viewers, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so somewhere it's become something that has become, if you've done that, then that means it must be a good film.
Mhm.
I think I may be wrong. It's an opinion thing.
I think it's an opinion thing because, but I mean, there are broadcast standards, of course. Sorry, 1 second. We have a daughter who's.
It's all right. It's all right.
So, yeah, I think broadcast standards are something different, which, of course, any broadcaster will require,
Yeah,
which is like sound,
technical standard.
technical standard.
Okay.
If you want to, that's for airing. But I think for a good documentary, I think there is really no standard because who's going to make that standard? Of course, because I think a strong story is the standard. And
Yeah.
you can never beat a good story. If you can tell a good story, it really is very difficult to say it's not a good documentary, just no matter what
Mhm.
you've shot it on, and how many cameras you've used. And so I think these standards are opinions, and of course a blue chip standard film with great visuals. We can all aspire to beauty, we all do, because you want things to look beautiful, and it has a certain appeal. And there is beauty in looking at something blooming in slow motion
In the
and
perfect light.
in the perfect light, and things that are, especially that you can't see easily, it will always be fascinating. I still can't help like stare at the blue chip films because they are just beautiful. When will you see a whale reaching this
Mhm.
close, or
Mhm.
go underwater with them and see a calf and all of
Mhm.
that? So it's beautiful. But yeah, good documentary, if you ask, I mean, is a good
Yeah.
story, strong story
Mhm.
that can move you finally.
Yeah.
Let me be the devil's advocate and ask you again one question. If why we are not winning so many awards, and why we are not on the international platforms, and why not Oscars? Why we are not there? If only the story, because there are so many good stories here and there, and after the democratization of the technology and the platform, there are so many filmmakers, new filmmakers or newcomers, or are coming and making films which are having very good story. But why we are not seeing them on international platform?
I
I think
think
we are. I think we are seeing films on international platform. I think in environmental films, what is on international platform? Let's say Jackson Wild is an
Yes,
international thing. I think there were quite a few nominations there from India
yes.
uh, this year, and young filmmakers were nominated as well. While Screen has had a few nominations. I mean, if those are the standards we are aspiring for, I mean, whoever
Mhm.
is,
Mhm.
they're definitely winning awards. I mean, Indian
Mhm.
filmmakers have been winning awards, and I personally don't feel the I don't feel the necessity to aspire for those international standards as long as I'm able to tell a good story and
Okay.
but
change.
but, but
Yeah.
say but say even awards,
Mhm.
or say even getting your film approved at a pitch with
Mhm.
broadcasters. It just changes because the people at the end of that change, right?
Mhm.
So in a typical jury, you might have like an odd number, right? Three people or five people for
Mhm.
whatever category you're in. It's
Mhm.
just a collective opinion. And it may
Yeah.
not be a unanimous opinion either by the end of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah,
For
Yeah.
yeah.
that particular award, that particular category, that particular year.
Mhm.
But if you had just given it a year earlier, maybe it would have been a different decision altogether,
Mhm.
But
right?
I really believe that there are story. I mean, awards and these are. I mean, it feels great, no doubt, and all of that. But they don't
Mhm.
decide whether it's a good documentary. There are numerous filmmakers in India, good
Yeah,
storytellers, beautiful films, and now with platforms like Netflix and all, there are a lot of films from Indian filmmakers, and we should dig and watch them.
yeah,
And that is the what,
yeah,
like when it reaches people.
yeah.
Okay.
The story has to come first.
Mhm.
It helps if it looks good,
Yeah.
Mhm.
uh, and because, but more than just looking good, it's the craft of filmmaking,
Mhm.
and uh, like Doel said, making people feel something.
Yeah.
That is the end objective. Do they feel something? So, like my octopus teacher, which is
Yeah.
in running for the Oscars now and all of that.
It
No,
won.
not
It
the
It
won
won.
the
Oscars,
It
Oscar.
won. It won. Of course.
right? So, of course, I mean, Oscars is this whole thing of how there's a lot of pushing that has to happen to get to the Oscars and all of that. But no doubt, the film makes you feel things, right?
So,
You get it, right?
regarding this octopus teacher, I want to say that on 8th, that is the World Ocean Day, we are having a one-on-one conversation with Swati Tyagarajan, and we will talk
Ah,
about Oscar teaching.
Wonderful.
So,
excellent.
yes,
Yeah,
it's a great film.
So there you
I,
go. It's got an Oscar, Indian filmmakers involved, and all of that. So I think it's happening, and maybe we didn't have the right access before, or we did. I mean, and I think it's happening. It's
I think
there.
we're too busy trying to aspire to those standards which you mentioned, right?
Mhm.
We should we have our own style of telling stories.
Yes.
So we must find our own voice, say it in our own way, and the stories are there. We just have to be listening a little harder, maybe.
Mhm. Uh,
And you
one
see, I
question.
mean, Green Hub, and like
Yes,
Yeah,
Gautam
yes.
mentioned, Green Hub filmmakers have their films are, beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
Their stories from the region, so you don't hear those stories easily. They don't need to win these awards.
Yeah.
Dockage, like Gautam mentioned, has great stories. Vatavaran has the small stories that you could use. Nature in Focus now is, you know, so that it's happening. I think it's all there. We need to look for it.
So we are on 31st. We are screening Green Hub films, and we will be talking to Green Hub fellows in the evening again. So
yeah, man.
yeah, no, they are doing great job. These guys are really, and
Yeah.
they are from that region, and they are saying story
Oh,
from their
and
point of view.
of course, RG Sustain also is making so many
Yeah.
films. So
Mhm.
I think it's all over. I think we should just go, like Gautam said, focus on telling stories, finding our voice.
And that's where I'm excited for the untrained filmmaker, right?
Mhm.
There's a very cool bass player called Victor Wooten. Google him. There's some
Mhm.
amazing stuff. Victor Wooten, and
Victor.
he said that there's so many genius bass players out there, but the one that I really want to meet and see and be inspired by is someone who's never held a bass guitar, because he or she will do something with it which I've never thought of,
Wow.
because they don't even
Yeah.
know how to hold it.
I'm playing the bass.
Mhm. Uh, Doel, as before, starting of this conversation, we were talking on the thing about the male centric this environment filmmaking, wildlife filmmaking. So, is it really very difficult for a woman or a girl to become a wildlife filmmaker? Like you have to stay in a very uncomfortable terrain and for a long so it's a general perception, so I just want to know your point of view. Is it difficult? You have to manage, like what?
It is as difficult for a male as a, I mean, as a woman, I think gender bias is a reality.
Mhm,
It's a reality for the for the world and for
mhm,
every profession. So I don't think it's film specific or wildlife film specific or conservation film specific. I think we face biases in every profession, and that has to change. And it is changing slowly.
mhm,
Hopefully, by the time my daughter is older, it will be a different world. Um,
mhm.
and as far as wildlife filmmaking and all of that is concerned, I think there are a lot of women in the field now. There were before. I mean, I personally know Mike has worked with so many of them. I mean, Rita, who
Yeah.
runs Green Hub,
Yes.
is a woman wildlife filmmaker. So it is as tough as a man. I think it's not any different. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be in the cold. It's tough to be in the heat. And you
But
gotta
it's the
just
same for everyone.
yeah, but it's the same for
Yes. Yes.
everyone.
But
There are perceptions, of course. As a woman, you can't carry things or you can't stay in a hard place. But it's a personal thing. I
Yes.
know men can't
Yes.
carry hard things,
yeah,
heavy things, and can't stay in difficult places.
I've,
So
I've I've seen more men back out after a shoot and say, "Bas mujhse nahi ho payega." Bas. But it's also because I think the women are smart enough to know what they're getting into. They've done more research than guys who just like, I just love being in the forest, or I just want to be out there. And then they come in like, oh, I thought we'd be filming tigers. Like, no, 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 we're filming only ants today. So, and then perceptions change. So it's not a gender thing anymore. I think it's shifted. Everyone is smart enough to know what they want,
Mhm,
what sacrifice is not really a word to be used anymore. It's part of the deal, right? So
mhm.
yeah.
yeah, and maybe traveling alone and all of that. I mean, there are those things, but that is in every profession. I don't think it's different for wildlife filmmaking like that.
Mhm.
It is hard work, but I mean, I love it. So
So
it's
if
Yeah.
Doel and Gautam, if some new student or film student or someone who is new to the filmmaking, if we want to become a wildlife or conservation or natural history filmmaker, what are the top three qualities which you want to see in the person, or you want to tell that, look, these three things if you don't have, please don't come to this profession or this field. You go and make fiction, you go and make general documentary or shoot a short film. Top three qualities.
Hmm.
wow.
Okay.
That's
Let's say together the first one. Ready? One, two, three.
patience.
Patience.
Holy
Not bad. Not bad. Okay.
Great.
Patience. At least we're on the same page with that. Patience.
Patience.
okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Patience.
Patience in every form. Waiting for things, filming things, waiting for money, waiting for money,
Waiting to create, waiting for the opportunity to create,
waiting for an idea to form
waiting
into
for the right
something.
story.
Yeah.
It's normal to feel that time is running out. I'm already 28, I'm already 24, I'm already 42, I've done nothing, or I've only done this.
Mhm,
Uh, but, you know, that is the demon you must fight
mhm.
within yourself with patience.
Patience. Yeah.
Second.
Let's
Second.
not try it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Come
No.
on.
No.
Okay.
No.
I'll guess. I'll guess what she'll say. You guess what I'll say. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
No. Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you'll say humility.
Oh shoot.
Am I right?
Yes.
See. So, humility is a good, I think, characteristic to have as a human. I don't know if you need it as a filmmaker, as a good
Mhm,
filmmaker, but I think you need perspective.
mhm,
Is the second one that I would choose. The second one.
mhm.
So, a good deal, yeah. You ask for three, but you'll get six by the end of it. But one
Well,
common is
five.
not five. So we have patience, humility, and perspective. Third, Empathy.
Now, before you go, to the another quality, this empathy and this thing, I want to ask you a question. Uh, it's about the ethics in filmmaking, in conservation or in natural history filmmaking. When you're filming, it's very difficult. Probably you are, with your camera for 2 days and you have, there is nothing to shoot. So sometimes, is it okay to, just create something and artificially create something and include it in the film, or something that visually say wow, but it's not good to the object or the insect or the animal whom you are using. So what is the, the line we a filmmaker, natural conservation, or the filmmaker should not cross? What about the ethics and morality which you think of? You always think of, you never want to cross that line. You don't never cross the line.
Yeah, I think we are very strict with that, with ourselves also, and question ourselves. Even today, actually, we're working on a rescue series now.
Mhm.
We were questioning something, or where to put the camera and all. So I think for me personally, like Gautam can have is because I think you cannot disturb the animal. I think uh, it's pretty high on my list of.
I mean, it's an invisible line, right? We all have different ethics and morals from each
Mhm.
other. I mean, we're all smart enough to know that it's wrong to throw the stone
Mhm.
on the sleeping tiger or whatever it might be to
There,
get the
there
shot.
was what you show me. You had shown me one photograph where this frog is sitting on. No,
Yeah,
this one beetle is sitting on the frog's, back.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
These kind of things. So you can say, "Wow, what a photograph!" But is it ethically and morally correct?
No, no, absolutely not. Those ones, though, are a different category altogether where they have sometimes killed the animal or they put frogs on ice packs or put them in the freezer
Hmm.
uh, to slow them down. And then they'll do
Whoa.
things like even stitch with a thread and make the hands in
Oh,
a funny position like that,
shit.
or even super glue them sometimes. I mean, there's no limit, right? And then they'll clean it up in Photoshop because it's a still image, it's a photograph.
Mhm.
So that stuff is completely off the board. That's not allowed at all. We know certain stuff like baiting and feeding is also off the board, not allowed at all,
Okay.
right? Like I have problems with that for sure. Uh,
Mhm.
in some places, I've had to film where animals are being fed. Now,
Mhm.
if it's an urban environment, it doesn't
Mhm.
feel completely wrong. Like outside a mandir or whatever, langurs are there and things like that.
Mhm.
But say if it's a semi-wild situation where over the years animals have got habituated,
Mhm.
then it starts going into a gray area. It's like, am I just supporting this by being here or not? Now,
Mhm.
do I get the shot or do I, battle with my own ethics and say, yes, I'm okay with it, not okay with it?
Okay.
So it's a tough question. There's no straight answer to it.
Mhm.
But it's something that we all have to think of as, especially as wildlife filmmakers. So at least you know where you stand because there will come a time when you will be offered something.
Okay.
You know, what will you say then? What will you do then? Just to get the shot. And having said that, like for productions that you're hired to work on, there is a pressure of delivery. Will you be able
Mhm.
to deliver the shot? Because
Mhm.
someone else might have looser ethics than you and is
Mhm.
delivering those shots, and you don't know what they've done, right? No one knows
Mhm.
what's happening behind the scenes.
Mhm.
So it's tough questions for sure
For
Yeah.
yourself as
for yourself.
filmmaker.
Well, I have so many questions to ask, but I'm really sorry. I'm out of time. So there are so many things which are coming in my mind. I should ask you, but probably in some future, sessions, probably we'll
Next
ask.
time, next time, skip the introduction. Then we'll get one more question.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you, Doel and Gautam. Thank you for accepting the invitation and coming to this
Thank
Thank
session.
you.
you. Thank you for
Our
having
pleasure
us.
as always.
Yeah, yeah. Bye.
Bye.
So, friends, this was Doel and Gautam, and we talked a length about so many things. You know, the filmmaking process, the ethics, the morality, everything. Uh, uh, and I wanted to ask them so many things, but as we are out of questions, we are out of time, so I'm unable to ask anything. But you know that every day we are doing these kind of uh, programs. So tomorrow again, we are going to talk to a very prominent, a very very humble person from Kerala, Mr. Undi Krishnan, about uh, his work and his filmmaking process. So please do join us tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Uh, and we are closing the session and saying you goodbye. I want to express my gratitude towards our program partner, Canadian High Commission in India and the EU in India. And I thank them on behalf of our organization. We thank them to help us to these kind of programs. Uh, thank you again for becoming part of the session, and hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.